Let me, those of you who haven't had the opportunity to see the park, please take some time this afternoon before you leave. It's a beautiful park out there. It's well designed, and before we do anything else, Fred Koontz, are you in here? That's the gentleman that designed it and executed it, who does such a good job for us with all of our horticultural work. We've got a little round of applause. Miss Godwin, Fred told me when we were talking about the park, he winked at me and he said, I'm going to make this one extra special.
And he did just that.
Katie Godwin, members of the Turner family, thank you for joining us today. This is a special day in the college's life. We get to recognize one of our own as well. So Farrah Maxine Turner graduated from Lake City High School, where many of our students graduated. She was a 2005 graduate of Francis Marion University, majored in political science, a great major here, truly a great major. While Farrah was here, she pursued many activities, foremost among which was her initiation into Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated, a sorority where she had such strong and very warm feelings for her sisters and for her participation on this campus. So Farrah left here, pursued a distinguished career with the Florence County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff, I want to welcome you today, and I want to welcome all the deputies and all the members of the Sheriff's Department who joined us here today. Thank you very much for coming. And Chief Heidler, thank you for coming and joining us today too. That means an awful lot to us that you gentlemen and the police community and sheriff's community would join us today. And my old friend, Judge Jay Vincent. Judge, thank you for coming as well today. So Farrah joined the Florence County Sheriff's Department, promoted in relatively short order to investigator. In 2016, she was recognized as Investigator of the Year. Now let me tell you about our involvement with Farrah, because one and the same time she was an active member in our alumni association and came back to campus to participate in a fair number of events. We also worked with Farrah in another role. Our campus police worked with Farrah, and she frequently came back to assist us in cases on this campus. And the professionalism and the care and the compassion that she exhibited through that work won her many friends, not only among our campus police, but among the administration, among our students, among our faculty, and among our staff. Farrah was an extraordinary police officer. She was a fine investigator. But more than all of that, she's exactly the type of person that should have been doing the work that she was doing in her career. So we're here today to dedicate this beautiful park which sits behind us. And we thought about this long and hard about what type of special memorial. We decided on a park, and we decided on a park with gorgeous flora and fauna, with a water feature, running water. It's an idyllic place, and it's probably the most appropriate venue that we could determine as a place for countless generations of students to sit on those benches and reflect on what the true meaning of public service is and what the requisite obligations are for duty, for commitment, and for sacrifice. So now I'd like to recognize the Vice Chair of our board, Dr. Randy Dozier, who will formally present the resolution and formally name the park. Dr. Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a real honor for me to present this resolution on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the university, and I will read it to everybody. The resolution for naming Farrah Turner Park. Farrah Maxine Turner is a distinguished member of the Francis Marion University class of 2005, and whereas Investigator Turner was a devoted and skilled officer with the Florence County Sheriff's Office who continued her education while with the Florence County Sheriff's Office and rose to the rank of investigator, and whereas Investigator Turner lent her skills, experience, and abilities to the challenging and vital area of criminal sexual investigations, and whereas Investigator Turner was recognized by the Florence County Sheriff's Office in 2016 as the Florence County Sheriff's Office Investigator of the Year, and whereas Investigator Turner gave her life in the execution of her duties while working to prevent victims of sexual abuse, and whereas Investigator Turner lent considerable hours of her off-duty time to assist entities across Florence County, including public schools, school organizations, and Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and whereas Investigator Turner was a devoted sister to her brothers, Farrah and Ronald, to her half-sister, Bridget, and to her half-brother, Nicholas Lee, and was a loving daughter to her mother, Katie Godwin, and whereas Francis Marion University desires to acknowledge the contributions of and the ultimate sacrifice made by Investigator Turner to the university and the community at large with a permanent tribute. Be it therefore resolved that the Board of Trustees for Francis Marion University hereby names the landscape area in the midst of the Forest Villa apartments on the campus Farrah Maxine Turner Park. I would ask the family, I guess we can go up to that. Ask the family to come up and unveil the flag. And afterwards, Ms. Linda Weaver will make some comments from the family.
Good afternoon. If you will allow me a few minutes, indeed it is an honor and a privilege to be here this afternoon. My name is Linda Godwin Weaver, and I'm a graduate of Francis Marion College. It was college then when I was here. A BA degree in 1984, and I came back in 1996 and earned a master's in elementary education. I'm speaking today in place of my daughter, attorney Brittany Weaver, who is also a graduate of Francis Marion University. She graduated in the class of 2010. Today I want to share a little bit about my niece, Farrah Turner. And the late investigator, Farrah Burdette Godwin Turner, who is a graduate in the class of 2005. Farrah's mother is my sister, Katie. Farrah's journey to Francis Marion University began before she was even born. My mother, and I'd like for her to raise her hand, she's not feeling too well, but she's here today. I was the first generation, the first of 9 siblings to attend college. My mother was the person who picked Francis Marion College. I was in the 11th grade back in 1978, and I went home one day, and my mother said, "I know where you're going to college." And that was during a time when you didn't argue with parents. So that began my education here. My mother told me when I came to Francis Marion, she said, "I'm going to select Francis Marion for 3 reasons. Number 1, it's close to home. Number 2, it won't cost as much as some of those schools. And number three, you'll get a good education and you won't have to worry about getting a job. And I have been teaching for the past 36 years, and I've never had to worry about a job. And I'm getting ready to enter my 37th year, and they've already offered me a contract for the upcoming school year. So my mother was definitely right. When Farrah told her guidance counselor at Lake City High School that she planned to attend Francis Marion University, she shared with her mother and I that the guidance counselor told her she was not Francis Marion material. It was hurtful, but she didn't know Farrah. When she told Farrah that, she didn't know Farrah was being raised by a single mother and that her maternal grandparents and her maternal aunts and uncles had her back. She didn't know Farrah had been caring for younger siblings and cousins since she was 5 years old. She didn't know that Farrah had been working since she was 15 years old. She rode the transit bus down to Myrtle Beach because she wanted to work, not because she had to. But she was that type of person. And when she decided that she wanted to attend Francis Marion University, she didn't know that Farrah was going to give it her all. And when Farrah attended Francis Marion University, she attended classes full time. She worked part-time at Bell's, and she spent countless hours studying and preparing for classes. Sometimes she was at my home till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and she would get up the next morning and head back to Francis Marion. She was a wonderful person, and when she was here, she loved Francis Marion. She often told us about the wonderful and caring instructors and how they provided such care for the students. She was a joy to be around, and she loved her time here at Francis Marion. When Farrah walked across the stage in 2005, her grandfather, my father, the late Arthur Gardner, at the age of 87, who had been a military policeman in World War II, sat in the stands and cried. And I asked him, I said, "Why are you crying?" He said, "This is one of the happiest days of my life, to see my oldest grandchild graduate from college." He lived a few months after Farrah graduated, but he was so overwhelmed with joy. Farrah has inspired so many of her relatives, her cousins, and other relatives to attend Francis Marion University. I was the first generation to attend college. We did not have a family college, and so Francis Marion became our family school. Francis Marion helped mold Farrah into the smart, confident young lady that the world now knows as the late investigator Farrah Turner. Armed with her college degree, she entered the profession that God had chosen for her at the Florence County Sheriff's Office. She became a member of another family, the Blue family, and she loved them. Farrah went out into her community to protect the most vulnerable population, our children. She was charged with the task of protecting children from monsters and predators within the confines of their own homes, a social responsibility fit for only the best and the bravest. It saddens me when I think about the tragic way that she lost her life. She put on her uniform on October the 3rd, 2018, just like she did every other day. She fought for 19 days, 19 long, hard days, and she succumbed to her injuries on October the 22nd, 2018. But I ask God to let all of us remember the young lady that Farrah was, and remember not the way that she lost her life, but the way that she lived her life, because she gave it all. Thank you.
I want to thank you for those wonderful comments. It's well moved. That concludes the ceremonies. We do have refreshments. We want to stay afterwards. We invite the family to stay and other members to stay and partake. Thank you. you.